So, good morning. Normally, we do strategies for long-term business success on Fridays, especially this Friday. And I found that it was really important to kind of preempt that and talk about the requirements of the Federal Crimes Enforcement Network, better known as FinCEN. So I'm going to jump right into this. And for those who don't know me on the recording, I'm Janice Graham. Um, Author, best-selling author of Leaving in Style and a company of the same name, Leaving in Style. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. And if there's any questions, feel free. But I made it really quick. I didn't want this to be a super long event. But I did want to share because the original deadline for this requirement was January 1st. So we're going to talk about that. So FinCEN, if you haven't heard of those lovely people, are a part of the federal government. And last month, I was speaking down in San Diego, and I had a booth at this business event. And sitting behind me, at the booth behind me, were some gentlemen from the federal government. And they're like, "We're with the Federal Crimes Enforcement Network." And I'm like, "Well, why are you here? This is interesting at a business event." And we're really trying to get the word out about FinCEN and the requirements of that were coming forward with their beneficial ownership information. So I was like, okay, what is the big deal about that? So let's see here. Where's my? All right, can you see? You can see my slide, right? I can't see my slide. One second. There we go. Now I can see it. All right. So, I asked, I go, what is the big deal? And so the Federal Crimes Enforcement Network is really responsible for helping to protect the federal government. They basically were implementing this law or requirement to identify who owns corporations and to help prevent or circumvent or reduce. Their whole battle is fraud and anti-money laundering and trying to understand where the money is, who's got the money and where are they sending it. That was, what he shared with me. So this part that they're really focusing on is called the beneficial ownership information. And it is a form that is really directed towards individuals that are owners of 25% or more of a company. Well, I had heard about this requirement, but I had heard about it for LLCs. And what I learned is that it went well beyond LLCs. And it was basically a requirement from the Corporate Transparency Act that came into effect in 2021. Actually, they started enforcing it in 2024. So for new businesses
Thank you.
that were started, hey, Jim, for new businesses that were started, 2024 was that magic date of getting things done. And for those of us who weren't new businesses, we had another deadline. So what was our deadline? Our deadline, as it is and then was, which is a clue, was January 1st, 2025. So as of last month, when I'm talking to these gentlemen, it was a thing, it was happening. They talked about the daily fines that were going to be imposed. And then there were some changes. On December 3rd, the state of Texas went, no, this isn't fair. So they filed a lawsuit against the federal government, demanding an injunction. And as of December 6th, they did, in fact, create the injunction across the entire nation. So oh my gosh, our hair is on fire. Nobody knows about this has turned into a hurry up and wait. So, I decided I wanted to continue to move forward with this conversation because a lot of the small businesses that I've talked to that had no idea that this requirement was coming upon them. And when I talked to the gentleman at FinCEN, they said, yeah, that's why we're out here. We have 65 million businesses that have no idea that they need to report by January 1st. So the injunction has delayed the requirement for all of us to submit our information to the U.S. government. So I wanted to kind of highlight some of that information. And I went even at each day I've been looking. And as of this morning, these were the headlines. at 2 hours ago, that is still on hold. One day ago, the judge refuses. So the federal government is trying to get the injunction removed. And they're like, no, we need to take a look at this. There's a whole lot of debate about privacy issues and just an overreach and overstep in regulatory requirements. So as of even this morning, I literally printed that this morning and put that there. They're still trying to get it removed, but the injunction is still in place. So there is no immediate compliance requirement as of January. The businesses that you're not required. If you've submitted it, you've submitted it. Yay for you. But if you haven't, you're not required to do it at this point. If you do decide to go ahead with submitting your information, it's voluntary, and they of course will accept it. So the penalties were, as of January 1st, it was like $500 a day. Now, when I talked to the gentleman at FinCEN, they were saying that the fines are going to be for people who intentionally withhold or try not to submit information. I don't know how they decide who's intentional, who isn't, but the fines were $500 a day, up to $10,000 for not submitting. The penalties have been suspended right now. The FinCEN is not enforcing that. But as you can see by the last bullet, the law still exists. It's just that until it gets overturned, they can't enforce it. So I still think it's important that you know about it, that you know what's out there. This is what's on the FinCEN website right now. As of last week, the little red things that are there weren't there. It was just prepare and file, prepare and file. So now they have put an alert out that there is some litigation and that there is an injunction. But so if you want to know, it's like, does this really apply to you? Because it does not apply to everyone. This is a little kind of quick look at who it applies to. So if you're everyone here I happen to know, so I know you're all U.S. citizens. But if you had a foreign entity, you would follow the questions for the foreign entity. For U.S., you're asking, is this a U.S. company? If yes, you may have to report as a domestic company. Is this company a limited liability company? Yes, you're required to report. Was the company created by filing a document with the Secretary of State? That is a really good way to ask, is it a corporation or entity such as an S Corp, a C Corp, LLPs, anything that's going to be required by the Secretary of State? If yes, then you're reporting. So if you notice, there's the one that's not on there is a sole proprietor. If you are a sole proprietor, you are not required to report because the business is you and you are the business. They know who you are. So by asking if you're requiring your business was required to be filed by the Secretary of State is a really good question and a way to be that point of demarcation, because as a sole proprietor, you do not report your business to the Secretary of State. Now, within the entities that are required, there are some exceptions. And I put the link here, and you can see it. All of this comes from the government site. But there are 23 exceptions as to who are and who are exempted from this. And a lot of these are regulatory arms. The federal government already knows a lot about them and who they are, and they're required to report on the regular. Securities reporting issues, government authorities, of course, banks, credit unions. These are all entities that have a lot of information about themselves out there, not only for the government, for the public as well. I was looking down and saying, oh, I see investment and investment advisors. Yay, those are my friends. But insurance professionals are not, unless they are a sole proprietor. So there's a bunch of different entities that, oh, I shouldn't say a bunch, 23 entities that are not required to report. I think the only one on here that would, Jim, are you an investment advisor? If you're listening to me, Jim, I see you. Jim, I think I guess it all depends on how in our industry, there's different titles and different ways of reporting. So if he's an investment advisor, he doesn't have to, because there's a lot of regulatory information disclosed already. So these are the folks who do not have to report. If this is overturned, they still do not have to report. Kind of information are they looking for? It's really very simple. And I'll share the page, but what they're looking for is just details. They're looking at details of about the company itself, the legal name, the address, and the jurisdiction of formation. So I have two companies. I have Entrepreneurs Insurance Services, and I have Leaving in Style. Leaving in Style is an S corp. So everything that I do for this S corp, I do based on my physical business address, which is where I'm sitting right now. So I'd have to identify the company's legal name, um, which is not Leaving in Style, but I have to do the legal name, the address, that would be the physical address as to where that business is, and the jurisdiction of formation, which is California. Um, I have to personally identify myself, and I have to do that with either, well, of course, inputting that information, but I also have to have either a driver's license or a passport, some type of federal identification that has to be imaged and documented as to who I am. Now, if my corporation had other owners, we have to identify all owners that have a 25% or more ownership in the company. So you would have to do the same. Okay, so now I'm going to take this off. And what I want to do is I want to share with you what the document looks like. It's super simple. I say that. But sometimes I say that it kind of comes in handy to say it, even if it's not simple, because if I say it, then it makes it so, right? At least that's how I like to believe it. Okay, so let's see here. So this is what the document looks like. You can file by pulling down the document, or you can go and you can do everything online. But it's really fairly simple. It's really, you're doing an initial reporting. You're putting in your legal name of your company, your employer identification number or tax ID number. Ours is the EIN. We're not a foreign jurisdiction, so we don't have to worry about that. The date that you're preparing it, they give you a privacy notice, and then you're putting in information about the company again, if there's an alternate name. So my company is a DBA, so I'd put in my DBA, my tax identification number, my country of jurisdiction. Okay, it's U.S. My state of formation. I'm not a tribe, so that's none of this is going to really apply. That's tribal information, and then you're going to put in your current physical address, and not a post office box. The end. That's it. It's just that simple. But because it is a simple document, we think it's a simple circumstance or situation. Is not. That's a lot of information in someone's hands, and a lot of people are saying it's none of their business. It's none of your business who I am that owns this corporation. And that is the big fight. And there's a chance that it may get overturned. But what's important is that as a business owner, you need to know. You need to know what's out there. You need to know what's going on, what's being said, because it affects you. And the what do they say? Not knowing the law is not an excuse for not following the law. So had you not known about this law and all of a sudden you're getting notices, because I didn't get a notice. I received zero mail saying that this was a requirement. And when the fines come in or the feds come and knocking, they don't care that we don't know. So, when I talked to those gentlemen last month, I'm like, I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to do, I want to let everybody know, because it's like you're not letting them know. So somebody's got to let them know. And maybe, a tax professional may have told you, or if you didn't know, some tax advisors are, letting their clients know. But I just think for something that's so large and so important, that you should hear more about it. And, like I said, the only things I saw were people complaining they had LLCs. And I'm like, well, I don't have an LLC. I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to open it up. I just, wanted to make this quick and short and sweet. Let's see. I'm going to check out the chat because I didn't see that before. Is the website for the state of California? No, the website site is for it's the federal government website. So it's FinCEN.gov. So it's FINCEN.gov. I think I had it on one of the slides. And then it's federal. This is all federal. Transamerica Financial Advisors. I am not a 1099. Is registered investment advisor. Oh, you're a 1099. Okay, so you're a 1099, which means that you're a 1099. So you're not you're not a so well you probably don't have to Jim, just because the financial advisors are you are a financial advisor. I mean, it's not one of the things that I looked for. I saw insurance companies. We're not insurance companies. We're insurance professionals or insurance agents, or I call myself an insurance strategist, business strategist and insurance strategist. So if my insurance business were an entity, um, I would have to report. But instead of finding an investment advisor, which to me, as an investment advisor, y'all don't know this, Jim knows this. As an investment advisor, you have to be fingerprinted. There's a lot of regulatory requirements. I was securities licensed. I retired mine because I wanted Jim to do it and not me. So I for 15 years I had this license that they know everything about you. Every time you go to do something, you have to get permission. So when I had my securities license, if I want to do a workshop on long-term care, which has absolutely nothing to do with securities, I had to get approval. So it's very regulated. He sits with a lot of regulations. So they know everything about investment advisors and securities type folks. Oh, no problem. You do you, Jim. So yeah, the industry, I have two industries because I do business coaching, which is free and liberated, and I can do what I want. And then I have my regulations under the Department of Insurance, which is a little bit, it's not as regulated as it was when I had the securities, or it's not as regimented, I should say, but it is an important component. But they do have a lot of things that are already regulated. So Jim probably should be good. Does anyone else have any questions? Clear. It was clear, right? Had you heard about it before? What did you hear, Raina? Oh, I have two Rainas.
You have two Renas.
Raina Walters was shaking her head. So
Yeah.
I have, you know
Um,
what?
I
Raina,
hadn't heard much. I just heard that it had to be done by the first, and there were fines of over $500 a day if you didn't have it done. But I didn't have much information at all about it. But those fines definitely struck an interest, and I started asking questions. Yeah.
absolutely. It's so funny because I was going to differentiate. I have to say Raina with the A and Raina with the E because I can't even say Dr. Raina because Raina Garcia is Dr. Raina and Raina Walters is working on her doctorate,
I
I
finished
think.
last year.
Oh, there you go. So I can't even say oh, that's awesome. Hey, there's Jim.
Sorry about that. I was on hold for like 20 minutes. I tried to get on time, and unfortunately this person was coming in and out on my phone, so I didn't want everybody to hear while I was talking to them. So so I'm sorry I missed part of it, but I appreciate everything that you said. I did have one question though. So the very first screen that you showed where it said that it's possibly put on hold, is there any notification we can get from FinCEN to show that
That's a
it's on hold?
let's see. I think I'll share this slide. It was actually this slide that I shared.
Yeah, I screen printed it, and
Okay, cool, cool, cool. So, the information is all coming from that FinCEN website,
mhm.
the media. So if you go to FinCEN, I'm gonna put it in the chat because it's actually a forward slash, so it's FinCEN.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with them. We have to do anti-money laundering through them every year, so I'm very familiar with the website.
I do my anti-money laundering through Limera.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but there are certain things that we actually have to go to their website for. So I know we do AML every year, but there's something else, something else that we have to do. So I've been on that website quite a few times.
Well, they have if you go to fincen.gov/BOI, beneficial ownership information, it's all there. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
but as far as you know, the January 1st deadline is no longer there, right?
it's no longer there.
Okay.
There is an injunction. Oh, that's what you missed. So, Texas, the state of Texas lawsuit, and there is an injunction as of December 6th. They filed a suit on December 3rd. The injunction was made to the public on the 6th of December, and the federal government is working to overturn it. And they're so far as of this morning, and that was the news feed I pulled from Google. Literally, as of this morning, they were trying, and um, the government saying no, that we're not going to lift the injunction. So I'm sure it'll go through the courts, and we will see. We shall see.
Yeah. Okay, I actually was here from the very beginning. I was, like I said, I've been on hold for like 20 minutes. So and it was, the person was coming in and out, so I just couldn't respond. But I appreciate everything that you did there. We actually did a presentation on this at the Chamber of Commerce about 2 or 3 months, no, probably only a month ago. And they went through this whole, basically the same type of thing that you were going through. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything because I do have a lot of clients that are business owners.
Yeah. And they're all freaking out because they think they have to have it done by January 1st.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I was wondering if there's any kind of a statement from them because we could send it out through the chamber. We have over 470 businesses in the Chino Valley. Uh,
They have, if you go to that website, with the BOI, FinCEN.gov, BOI, there's a little alert. I don't know if those alerts have a hyperlink on them, but if it has a hyperlink, it should probably have a full statement.
okay, I'll try that then. Thanks a lot, James.
Actually, let me see. I can tell you right now. It does. Because I had an extra page up. Let's see here. Yeah, I will share this with you. So let's see. Um, so this is what the site looks like when you go to fincen.gov BOI /BOI. Now, last week or whenever that was that Ish and I start working on this, the only thing that was here was this. Now they have all of these different alerts.
Oh, okay,
And
I see those.
yeah, and if you click on the alert, impact on ongoing litigation deadline, voluntary submission only. So you can, if you want to do it, you can do it. So if you hyperlink it, if you click on it, it's giving you all the information that you need.
Okay, so it's
Maybe,
voluntary at this point.
yeah,
There's not a deadline.
right. So,
Okay.
you could read all four of these, and if you decide that this one makes the most sense to send out for the chamber, which it probably does,
Yeah,
then either screenshot it, copy and paste it, it's coming straight from the federal government.
yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate that.
Yes, no problem. My pleasure. Happy to help. All right. So I know this is the holiday season. A whole lot of folks are off and enjoying themselves, but I just felt like this was something that was really important for those who don't have Jim's chamber and don't have anyone that's giving them the information to be able to reach out and know that this was a thing. Now it's a voluntary thing until it isn't, or until it goes away. So a lot of folks are annoyed that they've already done it, but then they know everything about us anyway.
Yeah, I really doubt it's going to be just thrown out. It may be delayed. We've had regulations that have been delayed like for like 2 or 3 years and they're ongoing. So there's all kinds of stuff that probably is going to happen. It just, you don't know when.
You don't know when that, and but you don't, if you don't know what you don't know, then you're blissfully ignorant to things that can affect you, and then it's like being blindsided is no fun.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not incorporated. We can be incorporated if we want to. I do own my book of business, but I'm through the Transamerica broker dealer right now. So, but the reason I was saying that was that when we went through the presentation, there is a lot of information there that business owners should be aware of anyway. We have to do it because we're licensed, obviously. We have to go through anti-money laundering and all that stuff. So, but I think it's good for businesses to go through that just so that they are aware of how easy it is for, money laundering to work and not
I
even be aware of it and, end up being quite maybe even penalized or, fined for not being aware.
I I agree. I have to, Jim and I, he probably has to do more because he's doing investments, but we have to do, we're required to do a lot of continuing education. And part of it is recognizing when someone is trying to launder money and what the processes are and how they're, going about it. And the why is obvious, to get it, take that money and make it look legit. So it is nice. It would be nice for some business owners to know and to keep an eye out for that because that's a thing, you know. Kiyomi,
Hi there. Good morning.
good morning.
I missed part of your presentation, so is this only for preventing money laundering? Is that what the
It,
reason is?
it is for the federal government to know who's who in the zoo. They want to know who the owners are of corporations, and their goal is to prevent money laundering, money going to terrorists. They want to know who owns that money, where these corporations, going, or who has the who owns the corporation, and if it's legit, really. Um, and they know a little bit about who owns the corporations, especially if you're with the Secretary of State. There's some information, but at a federal level, they want to know as well. And it's the argument is that it's overreach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, I know it doesn't affect me because you said sole proprietor doesn't affect
yeah,
us.
yeah. You can put your feet up and relax.
But it's good to know to share, right?
Yeah, it's a thing. So
Like this is confusing because when you apply for DBA and all that, they already have all your information and your
yeah,
business
but
license.
that's at the state level. That's not at the federal level.
I see. Okay.
This is the federal. This is the entire federal government talking to all 50 states and territories. It applies to the territories as well, and the District of Columbia. We're like, who are you? They want to know who are you? And folks are like, it's not none of your business.
Mhm.
None of your business. So, yeah, Melanie, you do you do taxes?
So I am in the grocery store, but you said, do I have taxes?
What do you do?
Oh, so I'm in school to be a clinical herbalist, but I make products, and so I have an LLC, for current use, but future use as well. So I actually just got a new business agent because I moved out of the state. I actually live in Texas now, so um, yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. It was probably you that filed that injunction.
Yeah,
Started with
for sure.
no, 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 we're not having it. So as an herbalist, yeah, well, you're LLC, so keep an eye on it,
I
definitely.
I will, yes. And I think I was with LegalZoom before and they never said anything about it, which is like one of the reasons why I left them as an agent. So now I have, more of like a small business. So I can run these things by them. But like I said, I went on the website the other day and it never said it was delayed or, it just was like same as filed by January 1st. So I was a little freaked out. So as soon as I saw your email, I just really appreciate what you're doing. So
Thank you. Yeah, it's like Isha and I were working when I came back from this conference. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm changing my that this Friday we're going to do this event. And I said, I'm going to be sure to go and do the FinCEN, so I could walk everybody through it. I learned by doing, and it's like I talked to these guys, and they were the ones in the suits, literally, and nothing changed, and then all of a sudden, poof, everything changed. So I was like, we're going to keep this date, we're going to keep this conversation, and just create some awareness. So that's all we have. So if there's nothing further, I didn't put a timeline to this, but I'm happy to answer anything I can. I am not the federal government, but I work with businesses to help them succeed. So this is just a part of it. And there's nothing like having a business that's fined and they don't know it, or having regulatory requirements and they're not aware. Business is business. That's the core and the foundation of how I serve business owners. Business is business. What you do as an artist or technician or whatever it is that you do is above and beyond the bare requirements of that foundation of business. And so to me, this was just it's very important that and now that you have the website, or even if you just Google and ask, is it about the injunction updates, to stay on top of it. The media will probably get involved and provide updates as well, but I'm not a huge news fan. I am selective in the news I read, I should say that. So it's like, but to be aware, you could actively put a tickler and keep an eye on it yourself as well.